Kevin, good morning, and thank you very much for your time. Just looking at some overnight reaction in various reports and on social media, people who support this decision, of course, are describing it in some cases as a victory for our oceans, the environment, and for future generations.
Good morning, Dan, and that's absolutely right. And one thing that I think really has to be stressed about this is that this proposal, this bill, really does not have much opposition. That vote you referred to yesterday in the European Parliament, it was 571 to just 73, and of course those 571 pro votes, that spans political ideology and parties across Europe. So here's what this proposal entails. It would ban in the year 2021, or by the end of 2021, things like cotton stubs, those are things we call Q-tips growing up in the States, plastic coffee stirrers, plastic balloon sticks, and of course disposable plastic plates and these disposable cutlery like spoons, forks, and knives. These are things that you bribe with all the time. Here in Belgium, you'd use the term apéro, evening nibbles and drinks outside. And the European Union, the lawmakers there say what you should be using are these, the real deal, the metal things that you can reuse, you can wash, and these don't end up polluting Europe's oceans and waterways. The EU says every year 150,000 tons of plastics end up in EU waterways. They want that to stop. So, Dan, that's why there's so little opposition to this proposal. Now, it still needs to be negotiated with the EU member states, but there is not expected to be much resistance there. So it is expected this will eventually become law here in the EU.
Well, reaction-wise, I mean, there's lots of organizations worldwide, Kevin, who've been campaigning this for some time. I'm sure some of that reaction in Europe has been coming through thick and fast overnight.
Of course, there's organizations like the World Wildlife Fund that say this is just a huge win. Over the past few years, we've all seen these images of plastics floating in the world's oceans. If you've been able to go to the beach lately in Durban, or if you're up here in Europe, you see cigarette butts, plastic bottles, all that lining the coast. The EU wants to try to stop all of that. And one thing that helped really get the momentum behind this is last year, China stopped the import of plastics for recycling there. So the EU has to try to tackle this on its own. Now, it does have to be said there was slight resistance. There is a lobbying group of EU plastic manufacturers. They call this move disproportionate. They say this really stops investment in new forms of recycling. But again, the vote here was 571 to just 73. So this looks like this will be law in the not too distant future here in Europe.
Thank you very much. That's Kevin Uzbek, our correspondent in Brussels, on that very important decision that's been taken by the European Union Parliament to ban single-use plastic. And now, of course, the work begins to make sure that will take place and be implemented in the various European countries.